Let's just step away from the noise of our modern world for a second, shall we? We're going to descend into a profound ancient darkness. We're diving into a mystery that stretches back thousands of years, right back to the very cradle of human civilization. It's this incredible story of time, of cosmic machinery, and ultimately, inevitable destruction. We tend to view history as this straight line, right? A continuous upward march of progress. But the ancients, the exact same people who built the very first cities and mapped out the first constellations, they saw something entirely different. They didn't see a line. They saw a wheel, a colossal, unyielding wheel of creation and annihilation. Before us, there were other civilizations. All previous ones were swept away at the end by a single total catastrophe. Just let those words sit in the silence for a moment. Swept away. Now, what's truly chilling to me about this inscription isn't just the apocalyptic scale of it all, it's the administrative coldness. The Sumerian scribes weren't writing poetic myths or some frantic prophecy here. They were just keeping records. They were archiving the doom of humanity with the exact same meticulous detachment they used to count sacks of grain or measure land boundaries. They were documenting what they saw as a mathematical inevitability.
Section 1. The Great Mystery and the Weld-Blundell Prism. To really understand this worldview, we have to look at the physical evidence left behind in the dust of the Mesopotamian desert. Discovered in southern Iraq back in 1922 and deciphered a year later, this piece of ancient archiving sits quietly today at Oxford University. And what's so fascinating about this artifact is its sheer physical humility. Just picture this four-sided piece of baked clay. It's literally no larger than a bottle of wine, pierced right through the center so it could be spun around and read. This is the Weld-Blundell Prism. It holds the most complete surviving version of the Sumerian king list. But listen, do not mistake this for some basic family tree of kings or royal propaganda. When you look at the intricate shadows of cuneiform dancing across that textured, aged surface, you are looking at a mathematical cosmology. It's a precisely calculated theory of history that dictates exactly how civilizations rise and precisely when they're scheduled to fall.
According to this clay prism and the wider Sumerian and Babylonian traditions it echoes, kingship essentially descended from the heavens, started a cycle, and then was completely destroyed. And then it descended again. Another cycle, another destruction. If you count carefully, following their own chronological timeline, exactly 6 civilizational cycles have been completed and totally obliterated before ours. Which means we, you, me, all of currently living, breathing humanity, we inhabit the 7th civilization.
Section 2. The sexagesimal cosmos, the sacred cipher. So, how on earth did they calculate our place in this cosmic timeline? Well, we have to look at the numbers. But we can't look at them with our modern, literal minds. We have to understand the sacred cipher of the ancients. When we read the entries for the rulers who lived before the Great Flood, the numbers are just staggering. I mean, the first king of Eridu, Alulam, supposedly reigned for 28,800 years. The second, Aligar, for 36,000 years. In total, 8 kings across 5 pre-flood cities racked up 241,200 years of rule. And this perfectly highlights an absolutely crucial point. These aren't biological lifespans. This isn't fantasy, and it's definitely not a typo by the scribes. These impossible durations are actually portions of a massive cosmic cycle. The key to unlocking all of this lies in a single base unit. Every single one of those massive reigns is an exact multiple of one sacred mathematical unit, the shar. In Sumerian mathematics, a shar is exactly 3,600, and 3,600 is 60 squared. This right here is the very foundation of the sexagesimal system, the base 60 mathematics invented by the Sumerians. And guess what? It's the exact same system dictating the rhythm of your life right this very second. The 60 seconds in your minute, the 60 minutes in your hour, the 360 degrees of a circle. The ancient scribes were literally measuring the lifespan of reality itself, using the geometry of time. And when you add it all up, a truly astonishing pattern emerges. According to a Babylonian priest named Berossus, writing way back in the 3rd century BC, if you total up the reigns of those pre-flood kings, you land on a highly specific number, 432,000 years. Now this number is exactly 120 times the shar. It represents the completion of a massive overarching cosmic gear. For them, it was the mathematical absolute that signaled the end of an era, the exact moment when the clock strikes midnight and the waters of destruction are finally released. And this builds into an even deeper, almost mind-bending global mystery, because that exact number, 432,000, appears with haunting precision in a completely different tradition. In Hindu cosmology, the Kali Yuga, which is our current era, an era of spiritual decay and ultimate destruction, lasts for exactly 432,000 years. Think about that for a second. Two profoundly ancient civilizations, separated by massive geography with absolutely no documented contact, somehow arrived at the exact same cosmic countdown to apocalypse, the same structure of cycles ending in ruin. Whether this is just a staggering coincidence or the echo of some forgotten shared human truth, the sheer weight of this mathematical synchronicity is just mesmerizing.
Now, during these sprawling ancient epochs, the Sumerians believed humanity wasn't alone. They were guided by divine intervention. Alongside the kings were the Apkallu, 7 divine sages. The most famous one, known as Anes, was said to have emerged right out of the Persian Gulf. Half man, half fish. He would rise at dawn to teach humanity writing, agriculture, medicine, law, and then return to the dark waters at dusk. 7 sages for 7 eras, handing over all the knowledge required to build civilization. But when the cycle ended and humanity had learned everything it could, the flood came. The divine teachers vanished into the abyss. The era of the gods was over, and the fragile, brutal era of pure humanity had officially begun.
Section 3. The 6 extinctions and the mechanism of collapse. So how does a civilization actually end? Well, the ancients definitely didn't view collapse as random bad luck. They viewed it as a precise, systematic mechanism, almost like a failsafe built into the fabric of the universe to curb the overwhelming expansion of human existence. We find the blueprint for this terrifying progression in the Atrahasis epic, a Babylonian poem from around 1700 BC, and the text describes a deeply unsettling process. Humans multiply, they become loud, and the sheer noise of their civilization disturbs Enlil, the chief god. So to quiet the earth, Enlil acts methodically. First, he sends a plague. The population drops, the noise fades. But eventually, humanity recovers. So he escalates. He sends a prolonged drought. Crops wither, herds die. Again, humanity barely survives and rebuilds. Then comes famine. And when these 3 partial catastrophes fail to permanently suppress human expansion, Enlil convenes the Divine Council and unleashes the ultimate weapon, the total flood, a complete reset of the board. Yet, the cycle demands continuity, right? So one god, Enki, warns a single man, Atrahasis. His name literally translates to the extremely wise. He builds a vessel, gathers the seeds of life, and rides out the 7 days and 7 nights of total devastation. He becomes the bridge. I mean, imagine the profound isolation, the immense burden of being the absolute sole survivor, carrying the ghost of a dead world across the dark waters into the terrifying blank slate of the next era. The pattern is set: partial collapse, total destruction, and a solitary keeper of knowledge who restarts the clock. But here is the most haunting part of all of this. The ancient scribes actually watched this mythological pattern manifest in their own real, lived reality. Look at the metronomic collapse of historical empires on this timeline. The Akkadian Empire, destroyed by invaders and severe climate droughts around 2150 BC. The Neo-Sumerian Empire, completely collapsed in 2000 BC. The mighty Babylonians, sacked in 1595 BC. The Assyrians, razed to the ground in 612 BC. And the Persian Empire, shattered by Alexander the Great in 330 BC. Each empire rose, centralized its power for a few centuries, and then fractured under the exact same pressures the myths predicted: climate crisis, resource exhaustion, internal tension. The scribes recorded these falls using nearly identical formulas, almost like men filling out tragic paperwork they already knew by heart. They had seen the wheel turn so many times, it had become an undeniable science. Section 4. The 7th phase and return, and the Stoic legacy. And this brings us out of the ruins of the past and right into the shadow of our present. We are the 7th civilization. The wheel is still turning. But you see, the ultimate lesson of the Mesopotamian scribes isn't one of panic, and it's definitely not a prophecy of despair. It is a masterclass in profound, defiant stoicism. The administrators who carved the Weld-Blundell Prism absolutely knew their empires would mathematically fall. They actively chronicled the doom. Yet, look at what they chose to do with that devastating knowledge. They didn't just sit in the sand and wait for the end. No way. In the full, agonizing consciousness that everything they loved would one day collapse, they built towering ziggurats that reached for the heavens. They crafted intricate legal systems to ensure justice. They mapped the stars with the precision that literally still guides us today. They invented the very concept of the written word, embedding their minds into clay so that even after the waters rose and fell, their voices would survive.
The ancient texts leave one agonizing question unanswered. And it's not a question of if the cycle will end. We know all previous ones have fallen. The question is directed squarely at us, the inhabitants of the 7th iteration, staring into the exact same twilight as the scribes of old. Knowing that the cosmic wheel is turning, knowing that the cycle inevitably ends, what do you choose to build while it lasts?